I'm doing a little bit of a different video today, and I'm discussing the retro gaming market. Is it changing again? I've done a few of these videos over the years. It's been a while since I've discussed this, and a lot has happened in the last 2 to 3 years. You know, the market's just gone bonkers, but you know, I do believe that something is changing, and I'm going to talk about it today. I'm going to first disclose a couple things. This is just my opinion. You may disagree with it. You may totally disagree with what I'm going to say. It's just an opinion. Don't take this to the bank. This is just a long-time collector. I've been collecting for nearly 30 years, and I've seen lots of trends and fads and things come and go. And, the market is just at a totally different place than it was when people just started retro gaming. To me, going back to the 90s, when people were excited about, finding Ataris at yard sales, and you can still find games out there. It's very different now. But, I'm here to just talk about retro gaming in general. And there's a big difference between just playing games and collecting them. So, I'm really here just to talk about where the market is, where I think it's going to be going, and just in general talk about, I think people's habits constantly are changing. There's different generations growing up with video games, and they have different perspectives on what is retro gaming to them. I think, retro gaming isn't just one game or one series of games. I think that is a definition that's constantly evolving. And that's kind of where I'm seeing things trending now. And so, this is not a doom and gloom discussion. I don't think the market's crashing. I think there's always going to be people loving classic video games. How we play those games, though, is changing, and it's actually rapidly changing. And it started off as kind of just a little bit of a shift. What I've noticed is that, there is a ton of new retro gaming products out there where people can play old video games. There's even consoles and systems dedicated to retro video gaming. I think it's even easier now for people to play retro video games on modern consoles. I think of the Switch, I think of the Xbox Series X, which, is a multitude of multiple generation Xbox consoles in one. There's lots of arcade classics now being offered. There's game collections. And it just seems to be even easier today for people to get their gaming fix. Now, there's really two main different markets. There's people that want to just play classic video games. And then there's like the whole original hardware, original software on physical cart, and that is kind of a different market. I think that market is going to be very challenged moving forward as availability becomes even more scarce. What I've noticed is that prices are so high now, it's hard to even get into the ground level with some certain systems. Things are expensive unless you get super lucky at a yard sale or a thrift store and find something that's underpriced. It is fairly challenging to just jump right in to certain consoles and games and have it be affordable. I think price has been the biggest challenge going the original hardware and game route. Now, there's going to be cheap games out there. I've done several videos about cheap video games. But for some consoles, it's tough. It's tough, really, for someone to just get into it. And, that is going to impact the market eventually. If new gamers look at the market of retro gaming and don't want to pursue original hardware and just, go Raspberry Pi or emulation or some other way, that's fine. But that's going to impact the market. I think one thing that I see is that, really the modern consoles really see that they can offer lots of retro gaming to people, and that's good enough for many. I think the other thing that I'm noticing too, even though I'm a huge fan of physical media and I cover aftermarket physical releases, and I will continue to do so, I love aftermarket games and homebrews and the market for that. I think for the majority of people, they're way beyond physical cartridges and are fine with a digital code of something, or being able to digitally download a game ROM and attach it to a multi-cart and then play that route. There's just so many people, I think, that are moving towards a digital option because of convenience, because of price, because of space, and because they have less attachment to a physical cart. And for many out there, I know many that watch this channel, you are diehards. You are going to have that physical cart release. You're going to go old school, and that's awesome. My hat's off to you. But for others, and I think the mainstream in general is moving towards that digital release. And I don't want to say that in such a somber note, but it's true. It's true. It's the era that we live in, and it's becoming more and more common. Now, there's pros and cons to that, but I think the bottom line is that it's easier ever than any time before this where you can pick up and play some retro games on any particular genre or platform or compilation. It is just so easy to do, and I think that's wonderful. And it's not perfect. There's several other classic platforms and games that need to be offered in a legal route for people, but I do think it's getting better, and I do think it's improving. There's several games that have came out the last couple of years, celebrating a 30th anniversary, or celebrating an anniversary in general, or a compilation of a game company. It's wonderful to see. Retro gaming is very subjective, and as time moves on, I think we're going to see more of a movement towards PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox, disc-based retro gaming, and you're seeing a lot of that being re-released on modern platforms, and it seems to be doing well for them. It's not going to be for everybody. There's always going to be people who are just going to wish they had the original on the original console, but I'm seeing more and more of that, and I see a lot of people just fine with those re-releases. And I truly appreciate many of them, especially the ones that go out of their way. I like having the original on a release just to see the differences, but definitely I see that as a trend moving forward more and more. It's going to appease many people. There's always going to be fans of original hardware and original games, and there's going to be people that are going to be willing to pay big bucks to have that. I just don't know how mainstream that is going to be moving forward. I think things have gotten pretty expensive. There's going to always be conventions, and there's going to be public in general is going to love video games. I think more and more people are going to be drawn to video games, but the percentage of people that are willing to spend lots of money to have original hardware or software, that's going to be different. I think that's changing. I think more and more people are fine with just booting up a Pi, playing on a Mister, playing through emulation, playing on your phone, playing a different route than that option. For a long time now, I've seen the market really change. First it was, Atari was a big thing to retro game, and then it went to Nintendo, and then it went to PlayStation, and now it's moving even to like Xbox, GameCube, PS2, PS3 as retro, which is just crazy. Even Wii's in that category. I know some people disagree with that definition, but it's true. And I just think that's going to continue, and people are going to look at those types of games as retro gaming, and that's going to just be a different market. That's going to be a different type of person that's going to pursue and play those. It might be the same old school people that grew up with Atari may want to pursue the new stuff, but every generation has its definition of retro gaming, and with those different generations, collecting is very different. And so as things progress, I do think finding original hardware and software is going to become increasingly more difficult. And, the prices, there's crazy prices being offered for certain games. Is that going to last? I have no idea. I personally think in 50 years, the people that grow up and collect in 50 years are going to care less about physical media because they themselves didn't grow up with it. Looking at my son, has gamed quite a bit, you know, some of his favorite games, Animal Crossing on the Switch, Minecraft comes to mind, Roblox. You know, those are the games he plays with his friends. He doesn't care about physical media. He just doesn't. He just cares about the game and playing the game. You know, when it comes down to it, gaming is just that. You know, enjoying a great gaming experience with yourself or with others. And, you know, to him, you know, probably a retro video game, you know, is probably playing when he was very little on a 3DS. You know, that would be like his throwback, which is kind of funny to think about now. You know, mini consoles, while they were fast and furious, I still think they're going to be a few coming out here and there. You know, there's still going to be retro consoles coming out, celebrating previous successful releases, and I think people are still going to be drawn to those. But my notice and wonder is I do notice that more and more people, I think, care less about physical media due to costs, due to availability, due to the high prices. For some, it's just too expensive. And I wonder how that's going to impact the market. I do see a dedicated group of gamers that will continue to promote and support this awesome hobby. I know I'm one of them. I love talking about video games. I'm in it for life, as I just am a fan of video games. I've really got to experience many different games, and I feel very blessed in doing so. This is just a basic discussion. You don't have to agree with me. What do you think? Do you see the market currently changing? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. I want to thank everybody for visiting my channel. If you're new, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and clicking the bell as I'm uploading videos every week. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. Let's be respectful to one another and keep it positive. This is the Immortal John Hancock. You have a good day.